Welcome. I'm Harmony Slater, your host of the Finding Harmony podcast. Over the past 20 years, I've taught thousands of yoga teachers and students to explore the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern everyday life, using mind-body practices to heal, awaken, and manifest their dreams from the inside out. This podcast is a sanctuary for those feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges. Are you ready to jump in and discover how these challenges aren't actually in the way, but are the way to finding harmony? Let's invite the magic back in. Today's guest is a deeply intuitive healer who bridges the worlds of energy, spirit, as well as embodiment. She's also an authorized level 2 Ashtanga yoga teacher. I have had the privilege of knowing her for many years and also am honored to call her a dear friend, Angelika Anagnostou. She's the founder of Living Alchemy and the Living Alchemy Soul Life Coaching. Angelika began her path in London at the College of Psychic Studies, and we are going to dive into what exactly is this college all about. Basically, it's an entire school devoted to psychic development, mediumship, channeling, learning to really connect to your guides, to your intuition, trusting them, doing intuitive readings, as well as blending metaphysical wisdom with really grounded and real-world transformation. And Angelika is going to tell us a little bit more about her work using life alignment therapy, which I've been honored to receive from her several times. And it's been a really amazing experience. And I just love how she uses pendulum work, and it seems quite scientific in some ways. So hopefully you understand with her description of what she's doing with it and how it works. And if you want to try it for yourself, we're going to have all of her links in the show notes because it's really something special. And her gifts are something truly, I'm going to say otherworldly, although I'm sure she would say that we all have these gifts and we can learn to connect to them. And this is just a rich, rich conversation about awakening your inner wisdom, reclaiming your own sovereignty and authority as a knowing guide in your life, and embodying healing from within, from the ground up, recognizing that you are the source of your healing and that no one outside of you is going to save you. I cannot wait to share this conversation with you. Let's get going because there's so much that we have to cover, both on this plane of existence as well as on the other planes. Hi, welcome. I'm so excited to have this conversation today because I am meeting with my dear friend, Angelika. Say it in the Greek way.
Angelika.
Angelika Anagnostou. I'm so trained to say Angelika because that's how, when I look at your name, I hear it in my head. But I know now.
Yeah.
Angelika. Well, we're going to have so much fun having this conversation today. But before we get started, I would just love to know a little bit more about, you were born in Greece, right?
I was born in Athens, born and bred.
Wow. And what did your parents do that you had such a beautiful angelic name?
Oh, nothing much. We have this tradition in Greece that you get named after your grandparents. So my grandmother, actually, my father's mother, was called Angeliki, which is the Greek name. And they decided that they will name me after her. And it's really rather interesting because, of course, like in any country, you shorten the names, you have nicknames and so on. So she never called herself that name. I knew my grandmother with a short name.
What was her short name?
they would call her Kiki, like very short. And some people will call her Angeliki, but more like formally. But they named me Angeliki. Yeah, that's cool.
Amazing.
Yeah. And actually, they shortened mine for some time at some point, and then I had to reclaim it. I was like, no, you have to call me by my full name.
Yeah, showing you with a
short.
short name.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it was not as short as Kiki, but because we had other variations. Usually, I'm all right. I'm okay with Angelika, Angelika. That's all right, as long as I'm not called Angela or Angie. This is nope. That is no. But,
yeah, it's funny when you think of all the different ways you can shorten a name.
Yeah, definitely.
I stayed with this Greek family last year when I was training in Toronto for my spinal energetics course, and it was like an Airbnb, and I was staying in a room in the house, and the parents were living in the house with the son who was older. They were kind of grandparently age. And the father, he found out my name and he said, "Oh, such a good Greek name." And then he said, "It's a very heavy name to have. Comes with a lot of responsibility."
Really? Harmony?
Yeah, I guess because there's the catamus and harmony, or harmony with an I, though.
Harmonia, yes. Harmonia. But it's so nice. I don't know. I feel oh, all right. But yeah, I suppose.
I felt like I fit right in. So what did your parents do? What brought you into this world of yoga and psychic studies and all of the things that you've done?
Okay, it's really funny actually, because my parents, when I was growing up with my parents, did not do anything specific at all. My dad is an antique dealer. So, with passion about certain historic art. My mother was an architectural designer, and that was her profession. Then she moved on to marketing and promotions because she wanted to try different things. When I was 16 years old, I remember my mother saying that she wants to follow a meditation path with a specific group that she was interested at. And she wanted to ask my opinion, what I thought of that meditation path and group. And I was 16 and I was thinking Mom, I don't care. Just do your thing. I'm not really sure. Yeah, it sounds good. Do it. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing about my mother's family, though, was that they were always up to something that I had no clue what that up to something was about until I started realizing certain things about myself. And the things that they were up to, all of them, starting from my grandma, they had a knack about tuning into energy and to do things with this. But for us, growing up, it sounded to me like a normal thing to do because we have this thing called the evil eye in Greece. And my grandma was amazing to take the evil eye off. So if you had it, she would take it off. She would clear it out. But for me, I never thought about it. It was a common experience. I would come back from school very often with a massive headache and say, "Grandma, my head hurts." And she would say, "Okay, let's see if you have the evil eye." And she would do the thing, right? And she would take it off. Then no headache.
Wow. Okay, so I know in Turkey, the evil eye is like the Nazar.
Exactly that.
Which I have right here on me, actually, right now.
Yeah.
But it's the same in Greece, right?
Yes, exactly the same.
But how would she know that you had this evil eye?
How? Because my mother would do it as well. They would all do it. If they started doing their thing to take it out and they started yawning or burping, that means you had it. And they would yawn in a particular way because afterwards, I tried to do it myself in my early explorative years. I thought, how do they do it? I want to do it as well. You yawn as if your eyes are gonna come out. There's tears coming from your eyes. You yawn crazy, right? It's a massive yawn. And then sometimes you would burp involuntarily because you're transmuting energy in that moment, right?
Yeah.
And And the most fascinating thing was that was a very fancy way that they used to do is like they would put water in a bowl and they would hold a cup of oil and they would put drops of oil in the water. And we know very well that if you put drops of oil, they need to stand in the water. Mm-hmm. But if you have the evil eye, this oil spreads in the water like crazy. It doesn't stand like a drop. It just goes boop, like a blob.
Yeah.
So that was a huge indication. You had the evil eye right away. Like, oh, the oil is spreading on the water. So they would sit there and do their like little prayers and magic and do the drops until the drops will start becoming normal drops. By the time you got normal drops on the water, the evil eye was gone.
Wow. Okay, so we have like these amulets or different things that we're wearing the Nazar, the evil eye, to protect us from people
to deflect.
Yeah. So is it like just someone looks at you with like a curse in their heart, or how do you absorb this or accumulate energy?
You know, like in Greek tradition, we say that basically they are jealous of you and they're giving you the bad vibes. You know, they're sending you darts of energy, like they're jealous of you. And that's why also they say that they put it on children, right? Or apparently another way to get the evil eyes if the person is overly zealous over you, like, oh, I really like you, but you know, it doesn't come from a balanced energy. It's like this imbalance of energy, either like cooing on you in a kind of weird way, or like actually feeling something really bad about you and sending you, let's say, bad vibes. And usually you can, if you have like a balanced energy yourself, you can deflect it yourself, actually. Like, now I don't get it. But I think if your soul is kind of wobbly and your energy is a little bit all over the place, then your frequency, let's say, is more low. So it's more easy for you to attract it.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I love this explanation because even in India too, they put like the big black dots on the babies' faces or different things to ward off this like excessive sort of jealousy or attention or this energy that might have like a clingingness to it, I guess, or a negative charge in some way. And so it seems like a very ancient understanding of how also, like, as a child, your energetic field is very open and very receptive. So it's easier probably to pick up those types of energetic things.
Absolutely. Like, we don't have so much ownership of our soul being in the body. Like, we don't have so much ownership of who we are when we are children. We are just like beings in a way. So it's easier. But then even as adults, very often we don't have ownership over our soul and who is it that is living in the body. So like, I've seen that with other members of my family, for example. Like, sometimes they still do that. I'm like, oh, come on, you can't still be doing this, you know, like attracting the evil eye. Like,
Wow.
My mother and I are now out of it. We're like,
You have your shields, you know how to deflect.
Yeah, we're like, nah, you know, like it'll take some effort to get us into that.
Wow. So besides the olive oil in the water, was there any other way that
other trick?
Yeah.
I heard of another way, which is like quite rad. I've never seen them doing that, but I know it exists because I've heard it a few times, that they put cloves. They put 3 cloves down and they do again the prayers. And if you have it, the cloves explode.
Wow.
Yeah. So essentially all the bad energy goes into the cloves and they go boom, like this.
Wow.
And it's crazy
how
this can happen. But there you go. Like, they're quite magicians in their own right, moving the energy from one thing to another.
Yeah.
And they do it with such grace, right?
Yeah.
And they use like some sort of prayer. Like, normally the prayer should not be just taught to you like that. That's why I never quite learned the exact that my grandma was doing, because she was supposed to tell it to a man on a specific day, and this person had to say to me, But there's other ways to do it. Like you can use like Christian prayers or whatever, like "Oh Father, you're in heaven," and variations of to do it, and whatever like this particular family, because different families have different prayers or different ways to do it. So then they use different ones to remove it. So yes, I learned to do it initially with a sort of like variations of "Oh Father" and so on. And then when I didn't need it anymore, I did my own magic, I guess. So like, all right, okay, now I'll do my thing.
Wow, I love this story. And just to grow up in an environment that I think that's part of our disconnect as humans right now is most of us, growing up in Western culture, we're so far removed from these ancient traditions and beliefs
Yeah,
and this, magic that's inherent in the earth and inherent in
yeah,
being embodied. And so we write everything off as superstition or as a trick or a misperception. But I don't know, like it feels like it kind of creates a disconnect within ourselves a little bit. Like we're denying an essential part of who we are as creatures from the earth and from nature.
totally. Like we deny a whole understanding that we are energetic creatures living in a universe, in a field. We are not just
Yeah.
like solid things that walk around and we think and things are just there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think the older people or the older cultures retain that awareness, even if it felt superstitious. But like for my grandma, that was just like a normal thing. Like, and other little things that they did along with that they also do in India, about like like how to set the energy in your house, how to like put positive blessings and all that. For them, it was normal. I love it. I think that's why I moved to India. Like, oh, home.
Yeah, there's strangely a lot of similarities. I've heard this also from Chef Kid, who's my Turkish friend, that there's a lot of
Yeah.
similarities in the sort of Greek culture and the Turkish culture and their traditions, and then in Indian culture as well.
Yeah, totally, totally. Like my dad lives in Turkey. My stepmother is
Yeah.
Turkish, so it's exactly the same. We just speak a different language, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So how did you end up going to England and to London? And I wanna hear all about this witchcraft school you attended.
The College of Psychic Studies. Okay. So I ended up going to England because the last 2 years that I was at my normal Greek school,
Yeah.
the Greek children went on strike. So the Greek students went on strike, and I was 16 years old, and we had massive strikes because we didn't like the educational system
Wow.
and the gradings and whatever. And it had actually started when I was 15. But when I was 16, it was just massive. And there were these huge strikes. No, I was 15, 16, yeah. And a lot of schools were under occupation from the students. The students essentially would squat the school.
And not go to classes or, like, was it
No, they would squat the school completely. So it was like an occupation. So they wouldn't allow the teachers to come in to the
Ah,
school. They would lock the doors. So it was a massive
wow.
protest. It was a protest, right? I mean, we are Greek, so we come from the land of protest and democracy. And my school got occupied,
Yeah.
and I was 16, and I was so bored because I had nothing to do. Like I had no school to go to. So I was a 16-year-old doing nothing.
Yeah.
And that was a government school, right? Public, like private schools would not do that.
Right.
Just the government
Mhm.
schools. And I had a friend that she was actually attending school at the International School of Athens. It was called Tassis Hellenic International School. And she had classes like a normal person. And the only difference is that they were using the American system or the British system.
Right.
And you can be a student of either if you were at that school. So she was attending classes, and I met her, and she said, "Oh, you're so bored, right? Why don't you come to my school and visit me and hang out?" I was like, "Really? Is it allowed?" And she said, yeah, come. Like, we can arrange for you to come and spend a day with me at school, like coming to my classes. And I thought, oh, fun. And my English was really good already.
Yeah.
So I thought, like, all right, great. Yeah, let me go hang at her school. And it was amazing. I thought, like, wow, I like this school. Like, I liked the small classes. They could pick their subjects. They could like be more focused on what they liked instead of the 13,000 subjects we have to do in
Right.
Greek school. And I convinced my mom and dad to send me to that school. I was like, I want to go to that school.
Yeah.
Although it had already started. I convinced the dean, I convinced everyone that I need to come to that school. With no particular intention to go abroad at the time. But of course, on our final year, everybody was gearing to go abroad. And I thought, oh, okay, I want to also do A levels, which is the thing that you have to do to go to British university. And of course, I had the grades and I had done the exams and I was a good student.
Yeah.
So I convinced my parents to send me to England. That was how I ended up in England to go to college. And I went to England and it was really nice. I was in London and I was like, yeah, I love it. This is really cool. But I thought, what do I want to do? All right, I want to do art and design. So I went for college. For college, I went to a school of art and design and it was great. But I was a very jumpy student. I couldn't settle in anything. Because I think my soul had other things in mind and not particularly that, just wanted to be in the location. I thought, all right, okay. So I started with that and I was feeling like, okay, all right, I'm not exactly happy. Maybe I want to do typography. Maybe I want to do that. I like drawing. I like this. And then by the end of the year, they had to place me somewhere for the next step, right? And they placed me to fashion design. Because basically I liked doing little drawings with details. So they thought, okay, that could be suitable for me. And I liked, these illustrations and detail. And I thought, okay, fashion design. I thought at the time, oh, all right, okay, I like clothing. And I was dressing quite extreme also at that time.
Yeah.
Like quite crazy clothing already. So they said, okay, this person, fashion design. So I went. And of course, I started and I didn't like it. I was like, no, get me out of here. I hate it. So off I was, like after 4 months of attending. And my father said, if you don't do anything, you're coming back. You're either doing something with your education or I'm not paying for you to be in London.
Yeah.
Fair enough, of course. And I thought to myself, oh shit, I need to do something useful in order to be in London. I don't want to go back. What shall I do? And then I thought, oh, I have all these great A-level grades. I'm going to go to uni, right?
Yeah.
And what am I going to do? I'm going to do something really useful. What does my mom do? Promotion and marketing. So that seems cool, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to learn that. So I placed myself in a course at uni that it was all about languages and marketing and like fun stuff for me, language and the marketing and computers and everything. Okay, great. But of course, in the final year, I graduated and I had to get a real job or do something with it. And this is where I got depressed fully because I thought like, okay, shit, I got it. Like I'm in London, I'm doing my thing.
Yeah.
Okay, up to here. But now I learned this, it's fun, but I'm not really hugely interested in that.
Yeah.
So I came out of uni and of course I was promptly sent to do an internship in a marketing and public relations firm in London and I hated it and I got really depressed because it didn't fit my standards. I think as a being, I thought this is preposterous. How can you make people like things like for a living? I hate it. Like I don't want to sell crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I rebelled and I said, okay, I'm going to be a bartender. And I told my parents that I'm going to go bartend and be a cocktail bartender. And they freaked out. But I thought like, I'm depressed. I'm going to have a massive breakdown over here and I want to die. And I meant that.
Yeah.
And that is coming to how I went to the College of Psychic Studies eventually. So I realized that actually, as I'm doing my rebellion and as I'm trying to live in London, make money, a hugely expensive city, I'm actually really depressed. And I don't have any feeling to get out of bed, to get out and do anything. Like I was just depressed. I was just going to this marketing firm and then to another marketing firm. And then even I worked at the Medical Research Council as well, at the press office, because I thought maybe I like that. So I was kept on spiraling from one thing to another to find where I was. And I got so damn depressed that I was reading all these self-help books to get me out of my depression.
Yeah.
Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. It's all about your thoughts and everything. So I thought like, okay, that's it. I need to affirm that I'm okay. And I was just pushing myself even harder and harder into my depression by assuming that by affirming that I am happy and it will make a difference. I was just pressing everything further down. So I was getting even more crazy. And one day, my craziness and trying to find a solution with myself, I was reading this book about shamanism, Introduction to Shamanism. I thought, like, that's a great idea. Let me read anything that I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
And in that book, it described a procedure called soul retrieval. And basically, it was explaining that as we go through life, certain incidents happen to us and we lose a part of our soul on the way, or different parts of our souls are left behind and locked in a place until we get them back in the shamanic tradition. And then the soul is back integrated and you have your energy, you have your power, and you move on in life. So I looked at that and I thought, like, this is what I need. I need to find that person.
Okay, I want to pause you just for a second because I didn't really know this was a thing until you just started explaining it. But I did a healing session for ancestral trauma from Mark Whalon, which he wrote the book It Didn't Start With You. And part of that healing session, we did this soul retrieval, like kind of meditation type, visualization type, somatic integration practice. And for me, I feel like that session that I did with him completely shifted. Like before that session, I was really struggling with this autoimmune issue that was happening, with just feeling powerless, like total in this like sick kind of like victim place, like just feeling not well. And then something really shifted after that session. Interesting, huh? And I didn't really know it was a thing, or like, I was like, oh, this is a nice visualization. But something really happened. It was quite interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. And you can go to your childhood, you can go to other places where you lost your soul. Like in the shamanic tradition, they take you to the underworld and to the upper world and all sorts of things that you can do, but it really has an effect.
Wow. So did you find the guy who wrote this book, or did you find someone to do this?
Yeah. I looked at the back of the book and I thought, like, who is this guy? I need to find this. And this guy, listen to this, this guy happened to live in London.
Amazing.
So I called him up and I said, I read your book. I want to come for a session. And he said, all right, come over. And he was like an old man with a beard, like doing the Native American Indian traditional shamanic ritual. And he said, yeah, come over. So he started drumming. Stay there, I'm going to drum. And you have to follow the drum and go into another world. Like he was guiding me. And I did that and initially found this, oh, right, this is great. Like I'm feeling that, like it had an effect. However, I was so deep in depression and actually I had no money that this kind old man, he didn't want to push me. So he would say to me, come whenever you feel you can. Right.
Yeah.
So I would wait until I would break down completely and then call him up and run and do a session with him. However, within 9 months, it totally shifted my energy. Like I was a different person. I was happy. I was like really assertive. When I said, okay, I'm quitting that stuff and I'm going to be bartending for the foreseeable future, I was really confident about it. I had like no issues. It was like as if I woke up and sunshine came in. And what happened on my last session that I was at his office, I saw this flyer of this American guy coming from the US. That was my first official teacher. His name was Edward Rice. I think he's still with us, but he's very recluse. He writes books. Anyway, and he said the course was the 21st century shaman and multidimensional healing. And I thought, oh, I need to go to his class now. He's coming from the States.
Yeah.
So I ended up studying with this guy.
Yeah.
And this is how I learned to do, you could call it shamanic traveling or astral traveling, that you travel to other dimensions and you pick up parts of your soul or parts of your self from whatever existences or from past lives, future lives, the lot. So I studied with him for quite some time. First, he would come to London and I would attend all his trainings.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we would get on long calls, long distance calls, and he would do the session on me, basically for my own issues. But that was his way of teaching me by me doing it to myself.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was like a very intense period of my life. I was going through a lot of different things that I was trying to unravel about my body, about my personality. Then I did a proper course with him, a proper training that it was if you wanted to be a practitioner. And that was making me think that you can heal anything. Like this was convincing me that you can actually discover the root cause and you can heal anything in life. Because not only this guy was very inspirational in what he was saying about our belief systems and what he knew, like his transmission was incredible. And I felt like a whole truth in what he was saying. Like I felt like, oh, I found myself. I want to do what you are doing. And I understand what you're talking about, even if my conscious mind had no idea what he was talking about, but I was really feeling it, right? Secondly, in one of his courses, there was this woman who attended that she had osteoarthritis. And I mean, severe case, medicated, like fully trembling. She made it to that particular course driving from, I think from London to Dorset we were, just to be with him and to do the training. And she was one of our demo persons that he did the session on. So he regressed her in another life that she was crushed with stones and her body was breaking and all of that gruesome stuff.
Yeah.
And essentially her bones were broken and she was dying in excruciating pain. Anyway, they did the session, they cleared up the energies, she moved to the light, she removed the trauma, what have you. When I was coming back from Dorset to London, I needed a lift. And I said, okay, I need somebody to drive with. And she took me in her car. So I started talking to her. And I said, okay, how are you feeling now after the session? And she said, oh, I just have slight tingling. I'm not on my medication anymore. And I don't need to take pause from driving to Dorset to London. I can drive in one go. We didn't take any break. Whereas before, this woman had such pain, she had to stop every hour. She was on medication and she was in severe pain. She couldn't sit in her own car.
Wow.
And within 3 days of having the session,
that's amazing.
I was like, all right. Yeah, we're on to something. Everything can be healed.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you were totally into this shamanic path and doing the astral travel and helping people retrieve or heal wounded parts of themselves from other dimensions or past.
Yeah, I mean, I really started it for myself because I needed the information. I needed healing. I needed to sort out my life. I needed to understand who I was.
Yeah.
So I was attending anything and everything. And then I thought, okay, let me also study to be a practitioner. But I didn't have the confidence. It was like, like that command. Like I felt like, oh, how can I trust that I'm taking them to the right place? You have to develop confidence.
Yeah.
So I thought, all right, this is great. But now I want to do some more stuff with energy that I don't necessarily have to travel with them to different places because I don't feel quite safe yet.
Right.
I want to explore other things. And I thought, okay, what else can I explore now? And then I thought, okay, let me explore energy healing and chakra balancing. I thought, oh, that's easier. Okay, let's try that. That's easier. I don't need to do this really long shamanic sessions with people. So I went for the first time to this College of Psychic Studies in London. Yes, it exists. It's actually a college in the middle of London, and they do like long courses and short courses and, weekend courses a lot. And I thought, okay, let me try some courses with them. And I found this man called Martin Brofman, that he was coming from Switzerland to teach the body mirror system of healing. And I wanted to learn how to do healing on the chakras. This is what he would teach. At the same time, I started attending some one-off courses at the College of Psychic Studies, that it was more along the shamanic part, because I was interested and I wanted to find out more, and some on mediumship and opening up to channel, but it was just like dabbing into things.
Yeah.
And I carried on with thinking like, no, healing is the thing. I need to do the healing, and I'm going to study with this man. So again, I attended all his courses whenever he would come to London, his retreats, the lot, so that I was confident and qualified to do my service, right? So anyway, I was very dedicated student, I must tell you. I still am, but a little less hectic, I suppose. Anyway, so this guy introduced us to the concept that when you heal people, when you transmit energy through your hands, you connect to the universe. You don't give your own energy. Never. You have to connect to that universal force. The universal force is the healing power. You don't take energy, you don't give energy. The source of that healing force is what does the job, together with the soul of the person that is receiving it. You're just a facilitator. So introduce us to this concept. So this way you keep your energy safe. You don't take energy on or give energy off. Secondly, he introduced us to the concept that when you work with people's energy fields, if you close your eyes and concentrate and tune into them, you'll probably see a lot of things and find a lot of information about them during the healing. So he told us that it's very good to convey the information, because if you tell them what you see, very often it has a very profound message for them, and it helps them with the healing process. He made us really focus on every chakra and see what we see during the healing, and then convey it to the person. So I thought, all right, let me do that. Great, let me focus. And I started getting a lot of information for people when I was doing that. And information that actually people were like, how do you know that? And I was like, I have no idea how I know that. How do I know that? I don't know. So I was like, how do I know that? Anyway, carry on. And then my natural response when I would see these things or find these things, like sometimes I would see the person like sitting in chains or like being in pain or whatever, like various images. I would ask, how can they solve that? And I would get like some sort of response or idea how they could solve it. But I didn't think of anything. I felt like, oh, that's a good question. How can they solve it? And then in the end, when I was relaying the information, I would say, yes, I saw you like this, or this might be related to that, innocently. And I thought that's a good idea. Maybe you should do this to resolve it. And people were quite taken aback at times. To the point I started questioning myself, how do I know that? Like, what is it that I'm doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just like the teacher said, concentrate on the thing and get the information. And then I thought, okay, I might as well ask, how can they solve? I had no idea. So I started getting really curious. And in one of his advanced courses, when we were doing the more and more advanced, right? One of the women that we were in the same class, she said to me, oh, you're great. You must go again back to the College of Psychic Studies and meet this woman that she channels, and she's a channel, and she channels the archangels. I think you should go meet her. You will really like her. I was like, okay, maybe. Right, I don't think so, but all right, okay, maybe. But I'm curious, like, why not? Maybe, yeah, she sees something, right? Maybe it has to do with my name, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe I need to go back to the college and check her out. So anyway, after this thing kept on repeating, and I thought, okay, I might actually go and check this woman out and see what she has to say about me. I went for a session, a one-on-one. And this woman, that she was incredibly eccentric, made me sit like miles away from her. And she was like, okay, this and that. She tuned into me and she started like downloading all this information about me. And I felt as if somebody opened my emails and was reading them. I was like, holy fuck. What is she doing? I was like, basically she was answering to existential questions that I had that I never actually asked out loud.
Yeah.
Because this is questions that you just think to yourself.
Yeah.
Or I was thinking to myself, and I was thinking, wow. And after she spoke for about an hour, she sent me off merrily. Okay, now bye. Okay, see you. And as I was leaving, she stopped me and from miles away. She said, you. I was like, yes. She said, like, you come to my class. I was like, huh? She said, yes, you're going to be great. Come to my class. I was thinking like, okay, all right, maybe another time. And I went back to carry on doing my things. But this thing intensified. That thing intensified, that information thingy, and also the healing started getting stronger, and also the energy started getting like I couldn't bear doing the healing anymore. Like the energy was so overwhelming to me. I could feel the people's pain. I could feel like what they were feeling in their body. I could feel it in my body during the session, and I would know that this is complete because I would stop feeling it. It was so dramatic for me. I felt like I can't do this. It's too much.
Yeah.
I better go to this woman and see what she has to say.
Yeah.
Help. So she took me to her class, and it was a channeling class.
Wow.
And she said, this is like channeling work. You're learning to do that. And I felt like, how am I supposed to do that? I don't know how to do that. And she's like, no, you're doing it already. You're channeling the energy for the healing, right? Now you need to channel the energy and open your mouth and speak. I was like, what? And she was like, yep, we're going to do that. That's what we're going to learn. So it was a very interesting period of my life. I started learning that energy is not just coming to soothe or help or balance fields or heal people's bodies or problems or what have you, but energy is information that comes like energy packs. And you receive information as a box, let's say, as a parcel, and you can actually unpack the parcel and read into it. And there's a vocabulary that you can learn to employ with intuitive language, and everybody has their own. And you can learn to unpack this information for yourself and other people. And there's various techniques to do that. You can connect to symbols, for example. You can connect to animal symbolism, power animals. You can connect to guides. And all that helps you to understand this energy and decipher information. So I was training with this woman quite intensely. We trained together for 3 years at the college and then also outside the college because, of course, I wanted the extracurriculum activity because I was fascinated. And she was quite a taskmaster. She would make us do this like really crazy exercises, like, like get out of the room, and half of the class would get out of the room and the rest of us would have to sit there with our eyes closed. And then she would put different people in front of us and we would have to read the person without even looking at them, see what we get, like really make us like explore or make us draw things for people and then decipher what we are drawing, like what do we get from the drawing, and all sorts of crazy things like that. That essentially she was teaching us to tune into what is there in the field, right? That all of us can do it, like everybody can do it, but we just have to use our different parts of the brain and also use that childlike curiosity that we have as children. We have that ability, but we don't learn at school. Oh yeah, this is good stuff. You should keep that.
It's
right?
true, yeah.
So yes, we did a lot of work like that. And then of course, because we were training more like to work with guides and intuitive guidance, and then for professional level to be able to not mess other people's lives with these things, right? We had like
it's a big power, right? Especially when people are coming to you looking for answers or guidance, you have to be really mindful of maybe even how much you share with them.
Yeah, and it's not so much how much you share, I realized, because if it's coming, then you can ask, shall I share it? But most often you should. But it is that to make sure that you're not putting your little ketchup and mayonnaise on top of it and filter it through your filter,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And this is when you can actually misinterpret the energy package that is coming for that person. And then this is where you can mess it up, essentially because your ego can get over involved in the
Right.
information.
Yeah, because you have certain things maybe that you think are right or better, and so then you start imposing your own belief system or yeah.
Yes, yes, your agenda. Very often, people in the field that we train, I can see that, like, even like, because I train people as well to do it
Yeah.
sometimes, if people are having the interest, like, we can have also we want to advise people,
Mhm.
right? We want to be the savior or the advisor, which is totally like a no, right?
Yeah.
Because this person, the specific information for that person, you should not advise them,
Yeah.
right? You should just interpret. Like, for me, it's like a translator, being a translator.
Yeah.
You need to just get what is given to you and translate it for the person to understand it.
Yeah.
It's not my business to tell them what they should do.
Mhm.
It is my business to help them connect with what is there for them
Yeah.
in the language that it's an intuitive language that not everybody knows how to speak yet. And I can help them with understanding what is already inside, whether we're connecting to their high self, their super conscious, whether we're connecting to their guides, their team, as I
Yeah.
say. Like, everybody has a team, we can connect to the team and get the information, all of that.
Yeah.
But this is the artistry, to be able to decide that this is my job as a translator.
Mm.
My job is not to fix the person
Yeah.
with the information.
Yeah.
And this is when the magic starts, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I have so many questions, but I wanna
Mm.
ask you about the guides because I think people are very skeptical or curious or intrigued by this idea of
Yeah,
angels
of the
or
guide.
aliens and, you hear all these stories of people doing ayahuasca and, like, being transported into different realms with blue beings and, you know?
Yeah, 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 definitely.
So how do you make sense of these different energies or guides that are around?
I mean, it sounds a little bit crazy, but it's not, because even if you think about it scientifically, there are different frequencies that exist that we can see or not see, right? And electricity is a prime example, or Wi Fi in these days. Like, how can we get these things to exist in our computer?
Yeah,
Right? So
totally.
obviously they exist in somehow format or dimension, but we need an interface to get it,
Mhm.
right? So I think people like us who train are the interface,
Yeah,
right, between the two frequencies, or the cable, let's say, the conductor.
yeah,
But actually, it would be very selfish of us to think that we only exist and nothing else exists. We would be monodimensional. And even like as a human being, we are not a monodimensional being, we are not flat.
yeah,
So in these other dimensions that there is, that the frequency is higher or lower,
Mhm.
right? There must be other things there, right? So
Yeah,
we can't be just by ourselves. It's just that we can't necessarily see them with the naked eye.
yeah.
However, our animals can see them.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's, like, something I think people can really relate to when they start to think about, like, the way a bird sees the world or the way a dog sees the world or the way a
Yeah,
cat sees the
cats.
world. I always think of my
Yeah,
dogs and, like, how we see color, they see smell, and they understand the
yeah,
world through smell, and, like, I mean, that's just
yeah.
also a vibration that we don't really have the capacity to, most of us, to really understand.
They hear different sounds as well.
Yeah,
Like, they hear sounds we cannot hear.
yeah,
So, but they hear it, and they all stare and they look up. They're very aware if an energy walks into the house that is not a good energy or what have you, they know.
yeah,
And also because I had the privilege of having a sister when I was already a teenager,
yeah,
little kids know that. They do exactly the same.
yeah,
And I used to do that. I realized like by actually watching my sister, and also by when I was doing my training and I was trying to figure out my life, when going back to my childhood, I realized that, oh, hang on, I actually knew all that already and I could actually see these things.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of my problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of really sensitive children learn to block out their sensitivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not socially acceptable or it's not welcome.
Yeah, it's like you learn to not be validated essentially.
Yeah.
And then it causes all sorts of unworthiness issues, not being validated, not feeling good enough, all sorts of psychosis. Like I had tons of that, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously I could see things, I could smell things in the air, and everybody was like, no, no, you're making this up. Or like kind of like a hard rejection of the subject because often people were very scared. Like, for example, my mom, it would scare the shit out of her saying, like, hey, there's people in the room,
Yeah.
right? They're walking around. I can't sleep. So my mom would be like, oh, heck.
Just getting out the olive oil and the water.
Yeah, spray me with some sort of something. Like, oh, let me spray this child with something, please.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But to go back to your question, is that basically there are other things that they exist, and there's different worlds that they exist, for lack of better word. And when you learn to navigate, you learn what sort of species, let's say, coexists with us, that is not necessarily unlike us, but sometimes it's even us in a different dimension. If you take the premise that we are a multidimensional being, that means that we exist simultaneously in different dimensions.
Yeah. Yeah. We just almost finished watching this show called Dark Matter that's on, I think it's on Apple TV right now. And it's the quantum realm and multidimensional and travel, and it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun kind of scenario to imagine.
I mean, to be honest, sometimes, listen to this interesting thing is that, sometimes our guides are different aspects of ourselves that they are just exist in a different dimension and they're more advanced than our thinking and they're coming to help with a specific thing.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the guide is our future self that can be from another dimension again, and they come back to help with something. So this is an interesting concept about our team being ourselves.
Yeah.
And then, of course, then you have other beings because, of course, like we come here on a task to be on Earth, to experience this dimension. Some of us have a very specific mission. So, of course, why wouldn't we not have help being in the scenario?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. It's so mind-blowing. Okay, I want to ask you about your connection to Ashtanga yoga, because that's how we met many, many years ago. I don't even know what year, but like it was sometime within the last 20 years we met in India, in Mysore. And how did you get into Ashtanga yoga? Maybe really briefly, at what sort of point did you decide to move to India and live there and practice? And how do you think it relates or interfaces with all of this incredible, like psychic, multidimensional understanding of the world?
Yeah. All right. So what happened? As I was going more deeply into that world, into my college, into my training, I realized I had this profound sense that I need to do something with my body. And my body was calling for something. And very quickly I realized also from my mentors, my tutors, that if you want to go higher or deeper into that, you need to be more grounded. They would say, oh, you need to be more grounded. And I was not grounded at all. I was a kid that really wanted to fly in the universe. So basically,
everything about you screams Vata. From an Ayurvedic perspective, yes.
That's true. So anyway, so I discovered that I needed some kind of anchoring.
Mm-hmm.
And because the other side of me was all about movement, I loved dancing. I trained as a dancer initially, and then like all sorts of sports during childhood, which I learned to understand that this would help me regulate myself and my nervous system, actually. I thought, okay, yes, I need to do something with my body. And what would that be? Okay, my mom used to do this cool stuff, yoga. All right, let me try some of that. And also had breathing problems. I couldn't breathe properly. I was like always like short breath or holding my breath and all sorts. That was my anxiety stuff, right? And I thought, okay, I'll do yoga. And of course, being like a very, as I told you, dedicated student, like once I get into something I need to explore, I started with all sorts of vinyasa and this and that. And I thought, like, this is great. This is lots of fun. And then on one of my trips, I was traveling to Norway, actually. I thought, okay, let me try this Ashtanga class. Right? What is that one? I haven't been to that one yet. Let me try. And this woman led us through pretty much, I don't know if it was like half or full primary. It was something crazy. I don't know. It was just beyond my level of capacity, but it was so much fun. And I felt home. I felt like, oh, this is really nice. I want to do that. What is that Ashtanga stuff? So I returned to London and I thought, okay, let me find that class. And I started going to all the lead classes, of course, as you do also because I was a cocktail bartender. Actually, that was my main source of income. So there was no morning waking up at all. So I was going to Ashtanga lead. And then at some point, one of my teachers said to me, oh, but actually she was practicing Mysore style. And she, of course, wanted us to practice Mysore, but we couldn't. And she said, you are good. Why don't you go to Mysore class? The story of my life. You are good at this. Why don't you go? All right. So I thought, okay, what is this Mysore thing? I thought, oh, it's so early. But they had classes for moms. Yes, right. So it was like for moms, it meant like it was after 9 when they have dropped the kids at school. So as a professional bartender, that suited me because I could just about wake up and go to the mom's class, right, with the Mysore moms. So this is how I started. And my whole reason was because I was trying to find anchor to move more into my metaphysical studies.
Amazing.
And try to land into my body. And as I started doing that, I started tuning more into like I could feel like, oh, this is the stiffness or the tightness or like the things that I would not like about my body or that it would be difficult. I would relate it immediately to the things that I could see in my body if I scanned it intuitively.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, all right, yeah, I can feel that there. Oh, and yeah, this is this black thing that I'm seeing. Right now, okay, that feels like a stiffness. Oh, all right, I can't do that move, right? We would have a sort of relation to one another. And I thought, all right, there's more to this. And I like it. And I like the quietness of the Mysore class. And I remember I was practicing with a guy in London. I really liked this guy. I thought he was a very nice person to me always. And he said to me, "Oh, you're the reverse. You're going from chapter 3 of the Yoga Sutras back to chapter 1. Most of us start from chapter 1 to go to 3. You're in reverse." And I thought, like, yes, it makes sense. I know what you're talking about. That's the one. So, right. I need the container, and the container needs to be strong, and that was my body. And I thought that's because you need the alchemy happens within the body. And Ashtanga helped me propel into that alchemy with a container that was solid. And I moved to India. Why I moved to India? Because again, as I already like really enjoyed Ashtanga and I thought, okay, I feel like I also want to share that. And I started assisting in my shala and all that. They pushed me to go to Mysore. They said, you have to go to Mysore if you want to assist. And I thought like, all right, okay, fine. I'll do that too. But then when I went to India, I realized that this is home. This is my home. Like this is my homeland, right? This is like, I feel me here and I want to be here. So I returned back to London and it took me 2 years from that time to move actually to India full time. in that time, in that interim, I went through huge transformations because I think my soul was preparing for something.
Yeah.
And my whole scope of of coming to India was like I wanted to get the famous authorization, because otherwise they would not even like let me progress in my shala. They would have like all these stipulations about what it would mean
Right.
to be a teacher. Right. So I thought like, oh yeah, but I really like it and I want to be in India. But also my thing was that I really wanted to stop cocktail
Yeah.
bartending and event bartending. And I wanted to focus my entire life to actually healing and intuitive counseling and serving people and helping them get better.
Amazing.
And so at some point I unplugged. I earned a lot of money through bartending and I made a lot of money to be in India for a whole year without stressing and just do my energy stuff and practice yoga.
Yeah. Incredible. That was the beginning of a whole new chapter.
Exactly. And mind you, I actually was planning to come for 6 months.
Yeah.
And for people that they have applied for Indian visa, we know how notoriously difficult it can be.
Yeah.
So I went to the consulate in London at the time with my boyfriend that happened to want to come to India as well at that time. And we said, let's go for 6 months. And they looked at our documents and they said, no, a 6 month visa is not enough. We're giving you a year.
Wow. That's so random and weird. That never happens.
That never happens. They said, no, you are applying for a year visa. We're going to give you a year. We were like, huh?
That's amazing.
Right? But actually, if you think about it, it made total sense because as soon as I arrived, I thought, this is my home. I need to stay here, not for 6 months. I need to stay forever as much as I can.
And you're still
Right?
there.
And I'm still here. Yeah, absolutely. It changed my life. And this is how I met you.
Yeah. I love hearing this because I do think the Ashtanga yoga practice is so amazing. Like, it's very powerful in creating that strong container. Like what we were talking about at the beginning of how, like, sometimes being overly sensitive or not having good boundaries around your own energetic field. I see a lot of people in the work that I do now with spinal energetics, when they're very sympathetic or empathetic and very sensitive, they often are so affected, like their energy field, but also their bodies get so affected by other people's energy. And I heard this story recently. I was speaking to another somatic coach who also teaches yoga, and she was going to this Reiki healer, and she was telling me about this Reiki healer who she worked with for many years, and she'd been doing Reiki for about 20 years. And she's only in her 50s, but her body is riddled with tumors. She's dying of cancer right now.
Oh, no.
And I mean, not that, it's necessarily connected or anything. We don't know for sure. It's just a story of a story. But I do think there's something really profoundly important, especially if you're doing this kind of, work that you're doing, or anyone who's working energetically, psychically, and like interfacing with other people's energy and emotion and thoughts and impressions and all of that little energy packet that that's there, is to have that really, grounded, stable, connected shield in a way, to be able to shield off the evil eye, right? To be able to shield off like the forces that might try to impact or influence you. And like you're saying, not to take on the energetic karma of people you're working with, right?
Yeah, you have to have a strong container. You need to be able to understand what is your energy as opposed to another person's energy. You need to be able to say, okay, this is not my energy. Oh, I feel quite heavy. Oh, maybe, yes, I feel a transmission happening. All right, this is not mine though.
Yeah.
And also, if you're working with any sort of guides or guidance like that, you need to be able to know this is not my energy. This is something I'm interfacing with.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can be very confusing.
Yeah.
And I think Ashtanga is a great tool. Like, it's very rigorous, but like a good, solid practice that makes you understand these principles about yourself combined with the breath work, then it gives you a solid foundation to build upon to help around that material, let's say.
Yeah. I'm curious what your experience is just with the practice, because I do also have some instinct that it also can kind of, like, it's good for creating, as they say in the Hatha Pradipika, like the diamond body, like that really powerful, solid, unbreakable physical container.
Yeah. Yes.
But I also feel like in some way it desensitizes you. Was that your experience at all?
Yeah, I think though it's the way that we teach it these days, right? Or like that it's propagated in a way that can be rather insensitive and methodical. And as much as the method being so like rigorous and you have to follow a certain way these days, it's lost its intuitive aspect. And I think this is the joy is to find the way back. I mean, this is the whole point, I think, of yoga and even Ashtanga yoga. Like it has an intuitive aspect that I think the older teachers used to teach that way. Like you feel the student and you intuit what is best for them. And then hopefully also as a practitioner, as you get more confident, you intuit how much to work with certain parts of your body or not, or your consciousness. And I think again, this is something that I feel strongly about getting back into Ashtanga.
Yeah. It's, I think, even just giving the students permission to really feel into their own intuitive sense in their body and not to suppress or negate the sensations that they're experiencing or having is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a way, give them space to also validate them. Because as I said, like as children, we suppress so much. But this practice opens up the centers, opens up the chakras, opens up the nadis, all of that. And then, of course, like for me, for example, practicing would be a very different experience to somebody else. I would go into different worlds whilst practicing, I would see things. So the things that happen on the mat to every single person is very personal. And if they feel that they're allowed to convey what is happening to them, then not only they can heal themselves very profoundly, but it gives them another reason to continue with such a incredible but very demanding practice.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how then did you start doing your life alignment, which is amazing? I just want to plug your sessions because I think they're so transformative and incredible. And so if people are interested in experiencing this deeper life alignment and energy work that you do, they need to reach out for sure. But how did you get into life alignment then? And how has that taken you into this whole other realm of
exploration.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
I don't even know what to call it.
Yeah,
Exploration's
exactly.
great.
Looking into things further. As I said, I studied different healing modalities whilst in London, plus I did that channeling training. And then I decided, all right, I'm going to India. I'm just going to devote my life to service. And this is what I'm going to do for people. And I was getting rather good results with what I was doing. And because I have this tendency, I like to research and search more. I thought okay, no more courses, please stop. We have Ashtanga, we have these other modalities. What do I like the most? I like these 2-3 things that I like to do with people. Fantastic. But what happened was I always wanted to research. I felt like there's more to this, and there's something in me that feels that I need to research about something with metaphysics more. And a lot had to do with regeneration. I felt like it is about the body's regenerative power that we can hardly tap into, although it's right there. Like the body by itself can regenerate. We just don't know what it is doing or how exactly. And it's a tremendous scope for understanding. And I always felt that although, it's nice to put my hands on people and feel the energy, it's nice to guide them intuitively, there's something missing for me to anchor this understanding. And long story goes that I was going to South Africa on a holiday and I had said, this is a holiday. I'm not going to do anything spiritual, no metaphysics, no courses. I'm just going to have a time in South Africa. But of course, no, because, like soul has other plans. And I was going to South Africa to find life alignment, essentially. So I landed in Cape Town, and within 3 days, I had terrible back pain. My eyes swell up underneath, like with water. And I was on my period, and my period stopped suddenly. And I felt like, I feel really miserable. I want to have a holiday. I need a chiro or something to crack my back. Yeah. And I need somebody to work on me a little bit because this is not nice. And I went to a mall with my boyfriend at the time's stepdad. And his stepdad was a person that was a very serious person, not into that stuff, right? At all. I was looking for somebody to massage me or crack me or do something with me, right?
Fix it.
And fix it, please. I'm in pain and I'm on holiday, do something. Right. And we were sitting at that mall outside a laundromat. I remember very vividly. And there was this flyer. And this very serious, like, not that stuff guy started pointing at that flyer and saying to me, look at this. Did you see that? Did you see that? And I'm like, what's that? And I'm looking and it says body work and life alignment. And I'm thinking, who is this talking to me? Because it's not you talking to me. Like, you're not interested in that. How on earth are you pointing to that flyer? I thought, like, there's somebody talking through this guy. I better take a photo. Like, I better check it out because this guy is not normally pointing at that. So I took a photo and I called this woman and she said to me, oh, you're not near me. It's very far, but there is this more advanced practitioner that is 10 minutes from where you're staying. Go see her. And I thought, all right, great, I'm going because I need help. And this woman said, okay, come. And she did her stuff. She got my details. She got my background. What am I going for? Like little mini exploration of my issues and my back and all of that and my pain. She was asking me questions. And then she said, okay, lie down. I lie down on this mat. And she's like working out what she was calling the body points, like similar to acupressure points. And she was like touching my body and checking strong, weak. This is connecting, not connecting. Okay, that sounds interesting. And then she started giving me these words to connect to. And she was like, what does that mean for you? Like this word and that word. And simultaneously checking with my body and using a pendulum and also doing some muscle testing on me. And I was thinking like, yeah, right. And then suddenly I started going like really deep into myself. Yeah. And the words started making me understand the story that I had inside of me. It was unraveling my information, right? Essentially, she was giving me words for me to tell her my story. And by going through that, she was simultaneously opening different vortex centers, energy centers of the body where energy flows to clear up energy, and was making me talk and making me reframe things and making me understand things, bring them to light, reframe them, put them to peace if I need it, or like take me somewhere else, like, and following a story, like unraveling. And through my own interaction with her, I would experience some sort of sensations of energy moving through my body or profound healing, to the point that there was a point when she was like moving, also because we use this little magnets, little magnetic flat things over the body. She was moving these things, and at some point my back cracked by itself. It went I was like, whoa, what was that? It was not even touching me. I was like, whoa, amazing. So we finished that, and it was like a very profound healing experience, along to like hypnosis and shamanic journeying with a lot of insight and a lot of energy work happening at the same time. And I was thinking like, wow, that was great. And then she said to me, okay, now look at the mirror, go see at your eyes and look at your eyes. And my eyes had become like they were swollen, and the underneath had reduced by 50%.
Wow.
During the session. And my back cracked by itself. And I thought, holy cow. And then I went home, and the most amazing thing happened. My period came back. And I was like, wait, wait a minute. What did she do? I want to learn that. So I thought like, all right, sorted. I'm not having a holiday. Call her up. I was like, okay, what are you doing? I need to know, what are you doing? You connected my body points. It was the part that I needed for my research, right?
Yeah.
Like the connection to the body stuff.
That's right.
And the precision that she was working with, that this is with that, and this where it aligns with that body point, and that comes together in your body and creates an explosion or a disaster or like a trauma response. And this is what I needed, right?
Wow.
And I spent my time in South Africa studying with her. She taught me the foundation. And I had the privilege with working with her one-on-one on that. So like a lot of questions and lots of healing. And then I practiced it on myself, and we had to do a lot of case studies. And then I committed to going back to South Africa every year to study with them, because then I discovered there was this whole life alignment organization in South Africa. And I planned my whole holidays, everything, my work, to be in South Africa to study with them, because they're quite extensive. There are quite a few modules. We have 7 modules plus foundation, plus other stuff that we do, like business alignment, family, organizations, home alignment, you name it, like various. And of course, I wanted to study everything.
Of course.
So I kept on going back, and then COVID happened, and then they decided to put some of the stuff online. So I could actually finish my training with them from distance as well.
Wow.
So yeah, I was really grateful, and that was my missing key essentially, because 2 things happened with learning life alignment, and I figured how to connect to the research that I wanted to do about body regeneration and expand into that field, because immediately I had an immediate body response and connecting and bringing all my understanding that it was quite chaotic at that point from my guidance and everything back into the container. And then secondly, the other thing that linked me to what I created afterwards that I call soul life coaching was that we get taught this thing called business alignment or org alignment or family alignment, that we work with a project, let's say, or a family or an organization as a focal point, and then we see what is related to them or what is related to this project or to this family, and what are their goals, what are their aspirations, what they want to develop, where they would like to get to. And usually we do it for an organization, a group, a project, right? Or for couples. And then I thought to myself, hang on a moment, this is quite rad. Why am I not doing that for coaching, right? And instead of putting the organization as the focal point, I'm putting the individual and see what do they want to create. And so I figured out how, by using the same methodology, let's say, and my own creativity, to create my own little offshoot of that, like using again life alignment, but basically I use it for people that they want to have a massive jump into something new in their life, like a new project, or they don't know what they want to do, but they feel like I need a change and I need to change something in my life. I want to pursue some sort of other goal. And or I do it for people that they have something in their minds and it's okay, clear, I want to manifest this and I want to create this in my life, or so at whatever level the person comes, I'm able to hold that space for them to either discover what is their real goals and what they really want to do and what is the real mission and they want to create, or I can help them, if they already have it, to see if this is congruent to what the soul wants inside and how they go about it, or to create a whole new different scenario because none of this is on track and we need to bring it together. Basically, my whole idea is that the soul inside knows what they want to be doing. And even if we are, let's say, we are yoga teachers, we are healers, we are like scientists, whatever, right? Maybe yes, this is our subject. Yes, I am a scientist, but maybe the scientist within me wants to create the next, magical thing that will win the Nobel Prize. And I never go for it
Yeah.
because I don't believe in myself or because this or that. Or I am a yoga teacher and I want to create a school or I want to create a space for other people. And like we always have this idea and we don't go for it.
Mhm.
So basically, I help people define what the idea is
Mhm.
or the purpose is
Yeah.
or the things that they want. And then we're looking together at opening up the pathways and also clearing up blocks for them
Mhm.
in order to get what they want, not what just what they want, but actually what they need
Yeah.
and what their soul is in alignment with within a certain period of time, within a container. So we put quite firmly a time frame that we're working toward. And again, this is all by the soul's intention, like we're checking how quickly can it be, right? Sometimes we
Mm.
get, okay, we work on something for 6 weeks, sometimes like no 9 months.
Yeah.
So we have different containers about how this can go. Some people are more intensive with this, like they really want the full shebang and we have to meet every week and like work on it. Some people are more like, okay, let's take it easy, but we're working towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found out that, yeah, by just trusting and working with the system, sometimes you can create something new that is very beneficial and beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, like with every system, right? You learn it and then you can also freestyle.
Yeah. Wow. And I love with this life align of works in, it from the sessions that I've had with you, like you're saying physical points in the body, but also like working with the chakras, working
Yes.
with also like what are all the different aspects that you work with?
Yes. Yes, you can work with a person's subtle bodies and chakras. You can work with the body points a little bit like akin to acupressure or acupuncture meridians and all of that to open the energy in the body. But also you can work with an array of things. You can work with person's childhood
Yeah.
or past lives, or you can work with the magical aspects of self, like the inner child, or like the magical self, or the superconscious.
Mhm.
So it's quite vast. It's quite explorative, depending on where the person is at
Mhm.
in their life. And it's actually completely tailor made to where the person is at. Because some people are very metaphysical and intuit things and they're into all that chakra business and what have you. And some people are really not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They come from a very even not even psychology based background or very like scientific and they just want to have a chat and solve their problems.
Yeah.
So my skill, let's say, or my training with it, what has brought me to the point that I can really like gauge it on the person and whether the person is like a mathematician, like completely not interested in anything aside logic and reason,
Yeah.
we can still work with that.
Yeah.
And if you're like a totally person that wants to discover all about themselves and their other existences, we can work with that also.
Yeah.
And we're just using the body holds the score, right? The body holds the information and we tap into that and we use the emotive words and then we're getting into where we need to get. And also we work with the principle, like when we're working with also with families or with groups, organizations, we understand that we are a field. We are not in existence by ourselves. So then the beauty of it comes together because we understand what we said at the beginning, that everywhere is energy and we're working like in a house. It's not just us. It's like, let's say it's our animals. It's like our grandpa and grandma that also cohabitates the house and what
Yeah.
energy they bring into it,
Yeah.
right? It's our brother-in-law or sister or what have you. So like we understand that we are not separate.
Yeah.
And the beauty comes when you're understanding how you, by awareness, you could create a big difference in your life, but also in the field of life of others in a very positive way.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is what I love about it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's like even like another conversation we can have for another time, but like the doing the work
Yeah,
within yourself and how it can,
affect.
yeah,
Yeah.
affect people around you, past generations, future generations, like all, time
Yes.
space is
Yes.
connected.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes actually in life alignment, we have different, we call them balances, a balancing procedure that we don't work with body points anymore. We work with fields. And then in that case, very often you see like, what does your soul try to bring about at this time or to understand and what is blocking it or simply to manifest. And we work with these fields of information that you're realizing that this person is going through, that is standing in front of you, is actually a global phenomena. It's not something that they're healing for themselves. They're healing it for their soul family or for their ancestors or for a group. And you can really sense when the balance is going into that. We're tapping into a different field altogether.
Ooh, I got shivers.
Yeah.
I could talk to you for days and hours, and I look forward to our next
Yes,
time of connecting because it's so
definitely, we should.
interesting, and I know everyone
Yeah,
listening is going to want to reach out to you. So how can they get a hold of you?
definitely. So the easiest thing for people that they have Instagram is my professional channel is living.alchemy. And you can reach out there if you like. I'm not a great Instagrammer, but I reply to messages, I must say, to be honest. The other thing is that they can write me an email. And I'm wondering how I can. All right, I'll spell it. All right, my email would be Angelika. So it's with a K, not a C.
Yeah.
And then it's at iamwellness.in. So they can drop me an email. I have a website that also needs a little bit of updating because I'm doing so many cool things. I can't sometimes I don't have time to put them there, but like you can, the website would be iamwellness.in.
Okay.
That I work with a group of people. But yeah, I think the easiest and fastest is either Instagram or also they can hit me up on Messenger with my name and surname. Yeah, and that would be the easiest.
And we'll put all the links in our show notes for
Yeah,
those places
yeah,
to send you messages on. Yeah,
yeah,
perfect.
definitely. Or even on WhatsApp,
Yeah,
because I have a professional number, they can WhatsApp me on. And
perfect.
I mean, here in India, we all WhatsApp for business. We don't
Yeah.
even, think about it. You want to connect to somebody, just WhatsApp them. Very different than Europe, I realized. Everybody's like, no, don't contact them on the phone. For us, it's, of course, you contact them on the phone.
Yeah, it's funny how different areas of the world have their way of communicating that feels easy and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Crazy.
beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on and being my guest today. It was so wonderful to just
Thank
connect
you.
with you and share your story.
Thank you. It was brilliant. And as you said, I would love to chat to you some more and even answer specific questions
Yeah,
at
we should get
time.
our listeners
Yeah.
to write in what questions do they
Yeah,
have, and then we could do a whole
definitely.
question and answer episode.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that would be nice.
Yeah,
And
it'd be
yeah,
great.
do that.
Well,
Great.
thank you.
Awesome.
If today's conversation resonated with you, especially around trauma healing or reconnecting with your body's innate intelligence, I want to invite you to explore the work I do using spinal energetics. This is a powerful, multidimensional modality that blends Eastern energetic principles with somatic awareness and nervous system regulation. Whether you are carrying stored trauma or feeling emotionally overwhelmed, or perhaps just a sense of feeling stuck in old patterns, or knowing perhaps you're carrying things from your lineage, your ancestry, spinal energetics helps you to shift this energetic block at the root, at the source. It helps you to connect to your spine, to your breath, and most importantly, the energetic field, so that you're not holding the pattern in your body, but it can move. And as the energy moves, consciousness also starts to arise. These sessions are for anyone ready to release what's no longer serving them, reconnect with their truth, and create more space, more ease, more vitality in their body and life. If this is you, I offer in-person sessions and online spinal energetic appointments, which are incredibly powerful and effective, so that you can experience this work wherever you are in the world. I also offer in-person sessions when I am traveling and teaching and offering Ashtanga yoga workshops in different locations around the globe. You can learn more and book a session through the link in the show notes. And if you're curious or have any questions, please reach out. I would love to connect with you and answer any questions you may have. You can find me on Instagram at Harmony Slater Official. And thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, for your time, for your support. I just encourage you to continue down this path of healing and awakening, and I cannot wait to connect with you more next time. That's it. We've concluded another episode of the Finding Harmony podcast. I just want to thank you so much for doing the work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a huge difference. Please make sure you have your automatic downloads turned on wherever you listen so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. I have so much more magic I can't wait to share with you. Lastly, if you're on Instagram, I love connecting and hearing from you. So come on over and say hello at Finding Harmony Podcast. And you can also come say hello to me personally at Harmony Slater Official. Thank you again for being here. I cannot wait to share more with you in our next episode.